Welcome to another edition of Power Core Productions and Podcastings. And in today's video, the long-awaited return of Anime X Marvel now officially has begun. As some of you know, earlier this year, we were going to be doing Anime X Marvel 2 in the beginning of the year, but some things fell through, things had to be changed, and it was put on hold until now. And we had to make another delay as we were supposed to start around a month ago, but unforeseen things often happen and stuff has to be changed at the last minute. So safe to say, we're starting rather late, but we are going to be hitting the ground running. Starting with our first series of Kaguya-Sama Love is War, Queen of Thieves. What if Shirogane was Spider-Man? Season 1, Part 1. Now, with this and with mini-series, as you'll all be aware, we're going to be doing a blend of anime and various versions of Spider-Man and seeing how the mythos can truly affect the world of anime. But what will be special about our version of Spider-Man here? What will set him apart from everyone else? Well, I hope that you'll follow along over the course of many weeks as we delve into our various stories, starting with this one. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Oh, love me, mister. Oh, mister. 知らされるほど切ない二人だけの危ないゲーム Love is war, love is war, love is war 踊らせてどれもいい子はこれから意地悪な恋の予感しびれる俺だ指の先は運命を待ちわびているあなたに言わせたい心の壁を破る愛の告白 Oh love me mister Oh mister 夢じゃないなら聞かせてね Mister もう Mister あなたの愛しい声で想いはもう止まらないいっそ全て奪い去って二人だけの危ないゲーム Love is war, love is war, love is war Love is war, love is war, love is war
Love and youth go hand in hand. For many, the blossoms of love come in the innocence of youth. A boy and a girl, or whatever you're liking. When two individuals want to confess their feelings for one another, beginning to bloom a romance, one that of which basked in the springs of youth. However, there is a caveat. The one who confesses their love first, the one who subjects themselves to the other, puts themselves in a position of weakness, a position in the relationship that one can never escape. Love is a battlefield. Love is war. It is a war where the one who confesses first is the conquered. Many people find themselves in this situation. None more so than our two characters here, whom you might know very well. But this story is about to take a unique turn. But I'm just a narrator. I'm gonna let our favorite boy explain to you what happened. Alright everyone, let's go through this one time. My name is Miyuki Shirogane. And I got bitten by a radioactive spider, yada yada yada, you know the rest. And for as long as I've known, about a year or so, I've been the one and only Spider-Man. Safe to say, crime in Japan isn't really what you think it is. For the most part, every criminal I catch pretty much stays in jail and you never hear from them again. Except for the super ones. They're the ones that cause the most trouble, and I already have enough on my plate. You see, I attend Shuchin Academy. It was a prestigious academy built for the elite and for the noble class of Japan long ago, but it was actually built for another reason. You see, there was a time period where there were clans that used to go to war with one another on a daily basis. But the thing was, children shouldn't pay for the sins of the parent. Well, this attitude adopted into the modern era. An era where there are beings of supernatural and super hyperactive powers. Those that fight for the side of good and those that fight for the side of evil. Heroes, villains, things of that nature, cops, robbers, villains, anti-heroes, all the likes, you name it, we probably have it. Well, the thing is, more often than not, these people end up having children. And sure, the children could just go to some regular school, but that just means that they're likely to get attacked. So that's where Shuchin Academy comes into play. Shuchin Academy is what you might call neutral ground. And I'll have to explain to you all how it works. For example, say that person A is a hero, person B is a villain. They go at it back and forth, fighting in the streets all day long, yada yada yada, good versus evil, the battle never ends, you catch the drift. Well, let's just say that they have children. Well, they want to send their children to a nice, pristine academy, right? But they fear of retaliation, the idea that they may end up getting caught in the crossfire. Well, the hero and villain society all agreed on one rule. Leave the children in business out of education. As such, Shuchin Academy, along with its sister and brethren academies, are considered neutral territory. When you come to the academy, you come as your civilian self. That way, everyone remains inconspicuous and no one knows who you are. More often than not, two people who absolutely hate each other on the streets of Japan will find themselves being buddy-buddy at a parent-teacher conference, none the wiser as to what's going on. And if you do bring your business out from the public to school grounds, your child faces not only expulsion, but you also face total isolation, not just from the hero, but from the villain community as well, meaning none will take you. Now, believe it or not, everyone follows this rule to a T, which is pretty shocking because you never know who these children will be the parents of. The children of both heroes and villains congregating together in one school. What's the worst that can happen? Well, now back to our main story. Miyuki Shirogane, the student council president. He wore the golden crest, one that acknowledged his talents and his abilities. Despite not coming from a noble family, the fact that he was able to transfer to the school based on his grades and work ethic alone was a testament to his skills. But it also determined in his overall standings how he had to present himself. You see, the only reason why Shirogane worked as hard as he did, why he pushed himself as hard as he did, was mainly because of the fact that in order to stand out among the rest, to truly be accepted, you have to go above and beyond. One could argue that with great power comes, you know the rest, I'm not going to finish it, otherwise we'll be here all day. But in either case, Shirogane was a beacon of what this top student should be. Also with him, the vice council president, none other than Kaguya-Sama of the Shinomiya family. Kaguya serving as vice president, coming from a family of prestige and honor and wealth, whose bloodlines run deep through feudal Japan, almost 12 generations deep. They had money and influence deep within the infrastructure of Japan. They were not ones to be mocked or taken lightly. Our story would begin with the young man and woman as they walked down the halls of Shuchin Academy, the students speaking among themselves in gossip and rumor. wondering if the two were actually going out or if they were dating. After all, they were above and beyond what any other student could possibly be. For them to be a couple, it was a match made in heaven. It made all the sense in the world. And under normal circumstances, you would be right about this, except we're dealing with two morons who can't just ask each other out on a date. You know what? I'm sorry, I'm the narrator. I'm supposed to keep my composure. I'm also going to apologize. I'm not the original narrator of Kaguya-Sama Love is War, so, his overall charm and demeanor, honest to God, he has it easy, and they just got a movie. I only hope we get that far with this series, but I'm gonna do my best. As the two of them would make their way into the classroom, with Shirogane sitting at his desk, and Kaguya making a pot of tea for the both of them. As they both faced away from one another, they took in deep breaths. Why? Because the night before, two individuals were in a fight. It was at the Tokyo Jewelry and Arts Gallery. You see, Tokyo's own hero, the young and amazing, super spectacular, ultimate, okay, they didn't call him all of that, Spider-Man. A hero who had burst onto the scene a little over a year ago and was really making a name for himself. Despite his young age and stature, the villains he was managing to catch were top-notch, and he was really earning his credit amongst the people. However, there was one person, one criminal that escaped his grasp. No matter what he did, no matter how hard he tried, she was the one person he could never bring in. Who was she? Well, to the public eye, she was known only as the Black Cat. Shirogane thanked Kaguya as he took a sip of his tea, the bags under his eyes only masking the true humiliation and pain that he felt. Thankfully, because of the school uniform, he was able to hide the bruises on his arms and legs. I can't believe it. Of all the dirty things that she could have done, she dropped a chandelier on my head, Shirogane would think to himself. That chandelier was very, very heavy. Just because he had the strength that was comparable to almost a tank, and the fact that he was able to just barely hold that thing up and stop it from crushing him, it didn't mean that it didn't hurt. And for Kaguya, she could only grit under her teeth in anger. I dropped a damn chandelier on his head, and he still kept chasing me for 8 blocks. I was only just able to lose him at the last moment. If I don't step up my game, he's gonna catch me one of these days. No, he's not going to catch me, because you're not going to get caught. You're almost halfway there, Kaguya would think to herself. You're halfway to your goal. Soon you'll be free. You'll be able to have what you want. And the only way I can have it is if I get the funds that I need. I've come too far to let him stop me. You're probably wondering what she means by this. Well, let's just say that the Shinomiya family don't make all their money in a legal way. Yeah, they're in connections with a lot of unsavory people, not just in Japan, but all around the world. And you see, when you're born into the Shinomiya family, you're expected to make the family a great deal of money. At least enough to be comparable to the status that you hold. Even if you're born into the family, you don't just get access to the funds for free. And you see, if someone wants their freedom from the family to be able to take their inheritance that they are owed, but to be completely free of the family's affairs, well, you have to drum up some money. How much money? You have to drum up 50 million yen. Safe to say, that's not an easy amount to raise, especially for one so young. But if you want out of the family business, that's the bare minimum of what you have to pay to get your way out. Kaguya was about halfway there. For everything she had stolen and for how much she was worth, She was around 19 million yen so far. She was close to 20 million, but still, that was still far off from 50. How many more jewelry stores was she gonna have to rob? How many high-end art galleries, things of that nature? She had even contemplated doing some work for some special forces overseas, although she thought better of it. The last thing you want to do is get involved with terrorists, and she didn't want to do anything that caused harm to people. All she was doing was stealing some junk. It's not like people were gonna miss it or anything. Although, she was sophisticated. She wasn't going to just rob banks or anything. This wasn't the Wild Wild West. No, she was high class. Also, you're probably wondering, how the hell does Shirogane not know that Kaguya is actually the Black Cat? Does she wear a wig that hides her hair with silver hair? Well, actually, no. When you're a part of the Shinomiya family, you get access to a lot of nifty stuff, including a special type of hairspray that changes your hair color without the worry for chemicals or anything of that nature, and you can wash it out whenever you're done. A couple of contact lenses, and you're all set and good to go. And while Shirogane is very perceptive in many things, it's often his, quirky sides that end up having him to overlook the very obvious of what's in his face. Safe to say, this is the stage. This is the scene from which our story is birthed. Also, there's Chika Fujiwara. If you want to know, she's aware that Kaguya is the Black Cat, and while she supports her friend from a distance, she doesn't get involved. Which is honestly thankful because the girl is kind of crazy. I mean, she's not the type of person that would shoot a hostage unless she felt like she had to. Yeah, you see, Chika comes from a family of people who work very well in politics. Dirty politics. Very dirty politics. The kind of dirty politics where if you don't agree with something, you're very liable to lose your family standing. And if worse comes to worse, Chika at least has the kind of money where she can make people disappear. I pray to God that she never becomes the Prime Minister of Japan. Otherwise, there is nothing that anyone can do. Shirogane can fight villains till he's blue in the face, but Spider-Man can't fight bureaucracy. Or theocracy, or dickocracy. I don't know how the ocracies work. You get the idea of it all anyway. But that's not all that Shuchin Academy has to offer. You see, it's not just the students you have to worry about. It's the teachers. None more so than the teacher of the third year science class. That being Dr. Otto Octavius, or as you might know as Dr. Octopus. Honestly, Shirogane had to shake his head at his teacher. Even though he didn't reveal who he was, it was very obvious that he was Doc Ock, and to make matters worse, it's kind of hard to, be in a classroom with your teacher who can actually teach you pretty soundly, only to have to sneak out after school, then beat up your teacher, then throw him in jail, only for him to break out of jail because he has class the next morning, and even if he is a villain, he does have standards. So you start doing this rinse and repeat over and over and over again, and you're just left in a situation where really no one wins in this. More so than today. Shirogane would be the first one out of class once everything was over, and after taking care of his student council responsibilities, as he ducked into a back alleyway near his home, he would quickly ditch his school uniform before donning his Spider-Man suit, ready to go on patrol. Less than 5 minutes later, he found himself in a fight with Dr. Otto Octavius, and after another 5 minutes, Dr. Octopus was finding himself in the back of a police car heading to the prison. You can't do this to me, Spider-Man! Let me go! You haven't seen the last of me! Yeah, I know, Shirogane would say as he began to swing off. Don't stay in there too long. You gotta give us a pop quiz tomorrow, don't you, Doc? He said to himself, continuing on with his regular patrols. His main target, though, was the Black Cat, although that night it yielded nothing. Sure, a couple of common criminals, a few other situations here and there, a car that almost fell off the bridge, but thankfully he caught it in time. It was just a routine night for Shirogane. It wasn't anything too special or anything of note. He was just doing what he always did. But he had something else on his mind. I mean, every night was pretty mundane, so it wasn't like he really had to go on patrol every night. I mean, he had a life too, and he had these movie tickets, and he had this plan all set up. He was going to get Kaguya to get caught up in the heat of the moment and see if she wanted to go out to the movies with him. If she accepted, she'd be in the lower position. He could finally get where he needed to be with her. I mean, everyone says that you can't handle superhero life and relationships, but whoever came up with that idea is a damn fool. What hero can't balance being a superhero, having a girlfriend, and doing whatever it was that Spider-Men were supposed to do? In either case, the plan was supposed to go perfectly. Although, as I'm sure you're all aware, nothing in this world ever goes as perfect as you think it is. And it was all because of the pink-haired one. He was already set to ask her. That was until Chica had to mention that those that see the movie fall in love. Kaguya would quickly take the advantage, claiming that if the president was going to be asking her to such a movie where people might fall in love and become a couple, well, you could almost say you were trying to ask me out. Aren't you, President? What the? How did she? No, there's no way. I can still salvage this. No, it's nothing like that. I just thought that they were two perfectly good tickets and I didn't want them to go to waste. But if you object because of some silly rumors, then we don't have to go. What the? Oh, I see, President. You're trying to use reverse psychology on me, aren't you? It's not going to work. You're going to ask me out. That was until the TV that was in the club room would suddenly flash with news. The news was for a special shipment of emeralds that was going to be taken to the Great Tokyo Bank later on that evening. There was going to be a special security detail in the wake of the recent cat burglaries of the Black Cat. Emeralds? Kaguya thought to herself. That could actually be a good score. I mean, if I get enough emeralds, that could at least put me up 2 or 5 million yen. I have to take it. There's no way I can deny this opportunity. But he might ask me out. No, I'm doing this for him. Once I'm free, I'll be free to date him as long as I want to, especially after I get him to confess first. You know what? I'm not gonna be able to go out anyway. I just remembered I have stuff to do at home, but I'm sure you can sell the tickets. We don't want them going to waste now, do we? It could ruin someone else's good time. Kaguya would excuse herself as she had preparations to make. Well, I guess I'm not going to the movies, Shirogane thought. At least, well, he could sell the tickets. Maybe he could get a decent amount of money. The results of today's battle, Shirogane loses. Later on that night, as Shirogane was out on patrol, it didn't take him much to figure out what was going to be happening. With that shipment of emeralds, It was going to be heavily armed and fortified, but still, he had to make sure that the drop went well. He sat on top of a roof, enjoying a coffee and donut, watching from under his half-opened mask, watching as all the preparations were being made. If the black cat was going to strike, it was going to be soon, and he was not going to be caught off guard. After all, he had the spider sense, he had the advantage, although he still hadn't caught her yet, and that sucked. But he wasn't going to lose faith. He still had a chance to turn this into a win. Well, the time dragged on. 9 o'clock became 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock became 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock between 12 o'clock. The emeralds were brought in, were locked and secured in the vault, and there was no sign of the black cat. No way! She turned down stealing some emeralds? What? Are emeralds not good for her highness? Damn that cat. But still, it was starting to get late, and it was a school night. He couldn't just stay out forever. Besides, he had to get ready for that quiz. In either case, if things didn't change in the next hour, he was going to go home. Well, an hour almost passed. It was about to be 1 minute till that hour was up, and he was more or less ready to go home. Until almost as if on clockwork, looking up top the roof of the secure Tokyo Bank, he could see a figure in the shadows, looking as though they were moving the glass ceiling panel and making their way in. Of course not. Kitty can't resist the bait. With that, Shirogane would go swinging in, as Spider-Man would follow in closely behind, watching the dark figure, making their way through the laser detectors, making their way past the cameras, until finally they reached the area of the vault. There were 4 guards in wait, along with 1 on the cameras. It didn't take Black Cat long to disable the cameras to have them showing a loop feed, thus allowing for her to only allow them to see what she wanted them to see. As Kaguya quickly made her way inside of the vault, quickly dispatching of the would-be guards that tried to subdue her. After all, being a part of the Shinomiya family, you're privy to many martial arts styles and forms of self-defense. High class, the best in the world. Facing off against lowly security guards that are in their mid to late 30s with bad backs and bad knees, well, this was almost child's play. And the security, well, it didn't matter how many layers of security they had. For the cat, breaking in was easy, like taking cheese from a mouse. As Kaguya set her sights into the vault, she found the supply of emeralds she was looking for. Now, on the bad side of things, it wasn't so much that emerald wasn't a worthwhile gem to steal, more so than the fact that you couldn't just take a small little chunk of it. No, you needed a good quantity. And at the best, she could carry maybe 2 duffel bags worth. At the very least, that should fetch her around 2 to 5 million yen easily. Of course, though, her plans would be less than ideal, as following behind her was none other than the Spider-Man. I see you like working late nights, Shinomiya would say to him. Well, you know, stopping crime is a 24-hour job. No real days off. So, why don't you just do me a favor, would you? Set down the emeralds and just let yourself be captured. I think you and I both know it's not going to go the way you think it is, my dear Spider. Yeah, except this time you've got nowhere left to run. I've been studying you closely, intently. And tonight's the night when I finally bring you down. I've heard you say that I don't know how many times. I don't know what's gonna make tonight so differently. Spider-Man would quickly web up the only door leading out of the vault behind him, making it impossible for them to escape inside of the confined area. You're going down, Cat. We'll see. The two would engage in a flurry of combat. They had fought each other countless times. You could almost say that they knew each other's move styles all too well. For Shinomiya, what she had learned from fighting Spider-Man was pretty simple. Despite his immense strength and his talents and reflexes, he had no real prior training. He was the type of person that fought on the fly and allowed his instincts to guide him. Commendable, but also foolish. As for Shirogane, what he had learned fighting the Black Cat was that she was not someone to be trifled with or taken lightly. What kind of training did she have, he thought to himself. Military? No, this was even more refined than some of the military's best. Wherever she came from or whoever she was something else. Of course, Kaguya knew that she didn't have the raw strength to outmatch Spider-Man. No one did. But thankfully, she had tools on her side. And tonight, she had a new one that she wanted to try out. It came in the form of a device that looked like a disc. She would fling it towards Spider-Man, Spider-Man effortlessly dodging it. She would throw multiple discs towards him. They went sticking to the sides of the walls, to the roof of the vault, and down to the floor. Of course, Spider-Man avoided them all easily. What? No throwing stars? No knives? Just some flimsy disc? If that's all you got, then you're really losing your edge, Cat. You know, sound works in a bit funny way. Wouldn't you agree, Spider-Man? Sound? What do you mean by... What I mean is that animals all have a distinct sound wave that they listen to. You know, dogs have dog whistles, cats have cat whistles. Humans, well, we have human whistles. But you know what I was wondering? Is there a whistle that works on spiders? A whistle that works on spiders? Come on, you've got to be... Ow! Immediately, Shirogane would fall to the ground, trying to cover his ears as best he could from that loud ringing sound that was barreling inside of his head. He had no idea where it was coming from. Was it the disc? How did she... You know, I've been studying you for a while. At first, I couldn't tell if your powers came from your suit or if it were because of you naturally. Although now that I think about it, it might be a combination of the two. But nevertheless, in the end, I figured one thing about you. You must have mutant DNA. At least your DNA must have been mutated in some way, shape, or form. Meaning that you shared the mutated characteristics of a spider. Meaning that anything that can harm a spider could also harm you. Of course, I wasn't sure if this was going to work or not, but seeing you writhe on the ground, it seems that my suspicions were correct. Kaguya would pull out a distinct knife from her satchel, a knife made specifically to cut through webbing, as she took her 2 duffel bags worth of emerald as Spider-Man was slow to get up, dizzy and disoriented. I must say I have loved our inquiry together, but I do believe our time is at an end, and I have an appointment to get to, so if you would be so kind as to do me a favor and tidy up around here now, will you? Thanks, love. Cat! As Kaguya went running out of the building, going onto the rooftops as she dared to make her escape, Shirogane would follow after her. The chase would begin intently, with the two jumping from rooftop to rooftop. Safe to say, they were high above the ground, and even still, there was nowhere left for her to run up to a certain point, not unless she wanted to make the 15-story drop to her death. Even if cats always land on their feet, even Shirogane didn't think that she could survive a fall like that, as they approached the edge of one of the roof buildings. Give up, Cat. You got nowhere left to run. Even you can't survive a fall like that. She turned slowly as she backed away. Shall we test that theory? Come on, you don't want to do this. Going to jail is one thing, but are you really just going to throw your life away? You don't know a thing about me. What I'm doing is not throwing my life away. I'm going to earn my freedom, and you're not going to stop me. But I know what you are going to do. You're going to stand there, and you're going to watch. With that, she leaned backwards and fell off the side of the building. Shirogane quickly rushing over to see what had happened. And well, what he was met with was a helicopter. A helicopter that the black cat had managed to jump on that seemed to have been lying in wait, almost as if it were waiting there specifically for her. As she joined inside with a pilot that had their face covered and with the machine gun torrent at the bottom. Yeah, safe to say, out of all of their experiences, guns were never brought into the equation. But when you have multiple firing shots being aimed at you, well, you have two choices. You can either become Swiss cheese, or you can run. Shirogane would duck for cover behind one of the water tanks on the roof, although it gave him little protection. Although the gunfire was nothing more but a deterrent, allowing for the cat to get settled as the helicopter made their daring escape. Shirogane wasn't going to let her get away so easily, though. Spider-Man running across the roof itself as he shot his webbing towards the bottom of the helicopter. What was seen next was Spider-Man clinging on for dear life onto a single thread of webbing as he climbed up slowly to catch the two of them, the torrent angling itself down towards the dangling spider that held on for dear life. However, before he had a chance to clog up the nozzle of the gun, one shot had managed to hit him in his calf. It caused him immense pain as he could feel himself losing his grip. And that moment of hesitation was all that was needed, as with the help of Kaguya and her claws, she swiped away at the last webbing, causing him to fall down to the city below, as the helicopter attempted to fly high into the air, too high for his webbing to catch them. Realizing his fault and seeing the ground that was dangerously close, he had no choice but to swing in order to avoid the fatal crash, eventually swinging himself into an alleyway and landing in a dumpster. As he went to check on his leg, he was able to see that nothing was fatally wounded, although taking out the bullet, that was definitely painful. Another night, another failure. Shirogane can only shake his head. All he got for his troubles was a shot in the leg and smelling like trash. And he only had 4 hours till school started, and he hadn't even begun to work on his homework. I guess I'm not getting any sleep tonight. The next day, the student council president and the vice president walked to the council room together. President, are you alright? You seem to be walking with a limp. It's fine. I fell down the stairs to my apartment this morning, and then I had to take my bike to get here. I do know you live quite far. I imagine that couldn't have been good for your leg. I can get a heating compress for you if you like. Thank you. I actually appreciate that. Why don't I get the tea going? No, I can get the tea going for you. It'll be my pleasure. Thank you. As Shirogane took his seat, Kaguya couldn't help but look back towards him. President, you work so hard for us. It's why I'm more determined than ever to get out of this life. No matter what it takes, I will get the funds that I need to buy out of my family, to be free of them. And once that's done, the opportunity for us to be together will have finally come. After you confess your love, of course. Kaguya would make the preparations as she went to start the tea. Yes, One way or another, she and the president would be together, and nothing was going to stop her. This concludes Kaguya-Sama Love is War, Queen of Thieves, What If Shirogane Was Spider-Man, Season 1, Part 1. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we begin Kill la Kill, The Web of Life. What if Spider-Gwen was in Kill la Kill, Part 1. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.